There was a little problem with YouTube, so there was a pause in this. It is now connected. I have spoken on certain aspects of consciousness, chakra, and energy. I just cannot go on a question alone when someone asks. I have to take a broader perspective in order to encompass so many things into it. I have not forgotten the Lataifs, the heart center, the 5 points, and the 9 points. But in explanation of the 9 points, I have to come to the analysis of Ikazo, the Bolivian born who has worked on anagrams. And there is a subtle relation between Sufi path and anagram. Anagram determines the personality of an individual, and in that will come the significance of 9 points, where they are located. But it is important to understand the relationship between consciousness, chakra, and energy, and how these are related to one another, and what are the techniques. Also, these talks are prelude to new series on Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. The techniques of 112 meditations that have been given by Shiva to his consort Devi. The background goes on like this. Shiva has meditated for long, and then he convened the 7 sages known as Sapt Rishi, the important beings in the process of the management of the cosmos, the Brahmand. He was explaining to them the deeper aspects of consciousness, its relation, and so many things. His consort Parvati came and he said, why 112 alone? There must be more, but Shiva said that is all. There are 112 techniques of meditation. Parvati did not like. She said, I will explore on my own. She went, and for long she tried to explore, but in the end she comes back. She is Shiva's consort. She is supposed to sit at the same level with Shiva. But in order to not let the sages know that she has failed, she sat a level below, thus accepting her vain effort. There is a particular sadhana or meditation techniques to move up the centers, the energy, and hold it there all the time. I had told you there is an upward facing equilateral triangle. This is known as ascending triangle. It is connected with the sex center. You would have noticed that no matter how much conflict is there, once the process of sex begins, some kind of emotional or love, begins to arise. This is what naturally happens. But there are techniques, because this particular equilateral triangle represents the aspiration of the seeker. And in aspiration, the 3 points of the triangle represents life. It comes first. First of all, you come into life. Then, to maintain life, to continue to move through the river of life, you need love. When these two things are combined together, light is born. So life, love, and light. This is the aspiration of every seeker. This is the ascending triangle. There are certain techniques that move it naturally. So in the moment of love making, it moves and reaches only up to the heart center, whereas it's supposed to reach the throat center, the center of expression. And then it moves up in a certain moments and comes down. If you do not have such austerity, a simple way to achieve this is not to eat for a certain period of time. Fasting, generally when the stomach is empty, the upward pointing triangle tends to rise by itself. That is why it is recommended to have a long fasting. It is quite natural for an individual to have a 12-hour fasting. When you fast more than 12 hours, each hour, firstly, your energy moves through the ascending triangle, and you develop more dark energy within your system. The dark energy, or DX3, it helps to, it becomes the healing energy. It heals the body, the mind, and everything that is there. Normally you would have noticed, you would have wondered. In the morning sometimes, when you had your last meal at 6 or 7 o'clock, until 12 or 1 o'clock during the next day, you do not feel hungry. But when you eat something from 11 to 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, every 2 hours or 3 hours you feel hungry and you want to eat something. What happens? During the night when you are sleeping, you dream, you have a sound sleep, but sometimes in the dawn hours, this is between 3 to 4. Everyone has to determine on its own when you are in sound sleep. At that moment you are connected to the cosmic energy, and something, the drops of nectar, is oozed into your system, and that gives you tremendous energy. So when your stomach is empty during the fasting, it helps to move the center naturally. This triangle, the upward, the ascending triangle, it is important. As I said, each hour of fasting after 12 hours, up to 12 hours it is normal. It is only after 12 hours when you fast, you continue the fasting, your level of dark energy increases. Normally this level on a scale of 0 to 10 remains 2. When it reaches to infinite level, there had been sages who lived without eating food for a long time. They can fast for a longer period of time. It is because they have developed tremendous dark energy. Then you do not feel hungry. You eat only all that is necessary. You do not have a slogan what to eat now. You eat according to the needs of the body. Less carbohydrate, more proteins, and you know the process of making complex protein into simple protein, easily digestible, and your diet becomes nutritionally dense. Nutritionally dense means when you are taking the nuts, dried fruits, which are rich source of omega 3, 6 and 9, these are known as nutritionally dense fruits. It can be achieved by doing a 17-hour fast daily for some time, but I recommend that you make it a habit and continue to do this. You do not take a shower and use this soap to clean the body. You do it on a day-to-day basis. One can easily fast for 12 hours. Each hour after 12 generates more dark energy in the system. It is healing energy. It raises the ascending triangle to reach the throat center. That's where, from there the expression comes in. It is the junction from where you can move upward. It is like a railway junction or the metro junction, from where you can move in all the directions. Really, there are 114 psychocenters or chakras in the body. You may be surprised to know that. 114 chakras in the body, but we are only aware of 7 or 9. There are 72 nadis or the energy pathways in the system. And at these 114 significant junction points, nadis meet in subsequent numbers and redistribute themselves. These points where nadis meet is known as chakra, which literally means wheel or circle, though they are actually triangles. We call them chakras because they suggest a movement, moving forward. Out of these 114, 2 are outside the physical realm. They happen on its own. For most human beings, these 2 centers are very feeble. Unless they enter into necessary sadhana or austerity, it does not happen. Out of the remaining 112, there are 4 that happens naturally. So there remains 108 centers. This 108 is a mystical number because it adds up to 9. 9 is the perfect number and it represents the Brahmand or existence or cosmos or God. Out of these remaining 108, certain are part of the body on a physiological level. The rest could be moving to some extent. These junctions are known as holy places. Once an individual is awakened, he is aware of these junctions where energy moves. It's a confluence of energy. Then these centers are developed. One need not go on a pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is for those who are not evolved. I had given you an example that there was a particular Naqshbandi Sheikh, Hazrat Mujaddid Alif Sani. He lived in Sarhind in Punjab, outskirts of Chandigarh. He came to Delhi on way to go to the holy pilgrimage. There he met the first Naqshbandi Sheikh who was sent by his master Amkan Ki from Afghanistan to India. His name was Baki Billah. For 1 year he lived outskirts of Lahore. Then after that he settled in New Delhi. So there Mujaddid Alif met Baki Billah and he cancelled the plan to visit the holy pilgrimage. Instead he spent the year in the company of Baki Billah, who became the master. The way the chakra moves depends on what you do to yourself. If you want to empower yourself to do different type of activities, to live the way of the being and adjust to different types of situation, the pranic psychology or the chakra psychology, the body needs to be able to adjust accordingly. This is done through different breathing exercises. You need to do necessary work to keep the chakras mobile, because the mobility of the chakra determines how flexible and effective you are in different types of situations when life presents itself. In order to meet different situations or requirements, the problem with most of the human beings is in one situation. They function well. In another, they are in total mess. Someone may be a great administrator, but on the family front, he is in a total mess. This is because they only think, feel and act in a particular way. However, with flexibility of these chakras, no circumstance and situation can ever disturb you. You attain to inner equanimity and harmony. This is why in Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, there are 112 techniques of meditation. As I said, 114 chakras, 2 are outside the human physiology. They happen on its own. Shiva explained, connected these chakras to breathing and witnessing. And this is where he has spoken to his consort Devi. And this is known as Vigyan, the science. Bhairav means beyond. Tantra, the way, the technique. But very easily Tantra is understood to be connected with sex. No doubt, sex is an important part of human life. It cannot be ignored. It is the seed. The seed must be planted and taken care of, not left on the surface. It has to be planted consciously deep within, just as you plant a seed in order for the seed to blossom and attain flowering. You should be able to do everything well with a little practice, but this will not work if your energy system is rigid. So keeping your system mobile, moving, is important. Not just because you want to do different things, different kind of activities in the world with this equal dexterity. It also gives you a certain flexibility of experience, that you are comfortable in any kind of situation. You do not need to run to someone. You do not need to go into your scriptures. To be at ease under all circumstances, your energy must be flexible. These 112 chakras can be used, are used as 112 doorways to your ultimate nature. These 112 techniques of meditation, or the breathing techniques, comprise the subject matter of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. That is why Shiva gave 112 ways to attain to ultimate through Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. To be able to move this complex triangular structure of your physiology the way you want it requires different levels of austerity or sadhana. But the most fundamental thing is that these two triangles, the ascending triangle and the descending triangle, must intersect one another. They should be aligned in such a way that they form 8 equilateral triangles outside and a square in between. Normally the upward pointing triangle is placed below and the downward pointing triangle is above. If you bring the 2 equilateral triangles to point where they intersect in such a way that they ultimately form a triangle, if they form a star with 8 equilateral triangles, the system is in balance and becomes very receptive. You have attained to harmony and equanimity. My work is to create a presence and transmit energy for which you need receptivity. No word is going to enlighten you. These posts are simply to create an interest in you so that one day your journey begins. I only say things to confuse you because you cannot enlighten anyone by mere talks. It is the presence, it is the energy field that has the capability to transform. Until you develop your own free movement of energy, you need to be in the energy field of someone. In fact, inward journey is from consciousness. In fact, the inward journey begins from conclusions, because when you begin, your journey begins, you have a priori conclusions because of your conditionings, because of your religious beliefs, and then you come in the company of the master. He is never consistent. A philosopher is consistent, but consistency is not natural and is not the way of life. For instance, you have come home from the work and you told your wife that you are tired, you want a cup of tea. She says, okay, I'll just make a cup of tea for you in a few minutes. But you find that she's taking time, and you go and make the tea for yourself, and you have finished it. Then she comes and makes the tea and brings for you. You say, I don't want it. Is not this a statement confusing? The wife says, just a while ago you said you want tea, and now you said you do not want to have the tea. You are very difficult to deal with. This is how the life goes on. But the thing is this, you, the master, when you say something, it is in a particular moment, and when time has passed, the things do not remain stationary. So it begins from conclusion to consciousness via confusion. It is like taking a good tool only to destroy the idiotic conclusions that people have made for themselves to live by. When conclusions are destroyed, because you had been living life in a particular way, confusion happens. Being joyfully confused about everything in the universe, joyfully confused about everything in the universe is a good state to be in. This is the beginning of innocence. This means you are constantly paying attention to everything. Once you realize that you do not know a thing, receptivity comes in. As long as there are a priority conclusions, then receptivity cannot be there. With conclusions, you have everything. There is no possibility, no opening, no receptivity. If you have conclusions, you can never be attentive. You can go through the life as if you are dead. This is what religious conditioning is all about. The more conclusions you have, the more rigor mortis is there in your mind and the body as well. When conclusions are destroyed, you are plunged into the sea of confusions. And as I said, when you are joyfully confused about everything in the universe, this is a good state to be in. This means you are constantly paying attention to everyone. If you are doing Hatha Yoga every day, you will notice that on a day when your attitude is rigid, your body will not bend, because body responds to the mind. The body will be rigid, while on another day when you are happy, and this happiness brings mental flexibility, your body will bend much better and easily. The nature of your consciousness and conditionings manifest through every cell of your body, every moment of your life. That is the cause of so many people, so many kinds of self-inflicted diseases in the world today. Self-inflicted. When your mind is rigid, the body becomes, and if the mind continues to maintain that rigidity, the body will continue to be in that situation, and the natural function of the body will not be there. Never before human beings has as many choices of food as we have now. In earlier times, people ate what was locally available. Today, in spite of so much variety, as the number of variety increases and there are more food choices, in the same proportion the illnesses have increased. In fact, the more choices people have, in the same proportion sicknesses they got. In the United States probably, and in the Western countries, with the largest variety of food choices, the amount of money spent on health care is almost inconceivable. Almost $3 trillion are spent each year on healthcare services. This is a crime against humanity. It is understandable those who do not get sufficient nourishment are ill. Understandable, they are malnourished. But if those who are eating well are sick, it means something fundamental is going wrong. We have not understood that every cell in your body is created by the nature of your consciousness. If you do not know how to keep the nature of your consciousness well, you will not know how to keep your system in order. Then you will function by accident, which need not be so. As we as human beings do everything that other creatures do as well. We eat, we sleep, we reproduce, we die. One thing that distinguishes us is we make a lot of fuss about everything. You are asked to do something, the first reaction is a fuss. Never ever, just ponder how many times when you are asked to do something, you did it meditatively without making a fuss. How many times? We are never in harmony within and all that is happening around. And more so when you are in the company of the Master, living becomes almost impossible. Because it's not that he is difficult. He's very easy to please. But he is performing a role of transforming you. So those who are around, they miss the opportunity. There is a difference between human beings. Man can do all these things fully, consciously. For example, you can eat consciously. Let us say you are hungry. If you were some other creature, you would pick up whatever suits you and eat it. But as a human being, you are able to wait until the meal time, sit at the table, chant the invocation, and rather than stuffing your face with your hands, you eat, stuffing the stomach with both hands. You use your right or the left hand. This is being conscious. If you go by the body alone, you will want to eat immediately. But since you have the necessary intelligence and awareness to hold back the compulsions of the body, you can respond to this situation in a conscious manner. Yet still, we do not observe this conscious manner. When something is tasty, you go on stuffing it. Many times it happens before I go in a buffet or any family occasion, I look around what are the different dishes to eat. A survey. Out of these, there is one choice. I take a small bite of each separately. Let's say there is baked potato. I take a piece, sit down and eat, feel it, then take the other. I know how many dishes are there and how to plan my eating. Rather than the dessert comes the last and you are asked to eat that. No, I'm sorry, I have eaten. I cannot eat anything more. But it is tasting very good. I know I did not deny that it may not taste good. If you want, you can pack it and give it to me. I will carry it home. And when I have space in my stomach or the next meal, then I will take it. You can plan. Consciousness gives you possibility to become free from tendencies. Even if you have lived your life with all kinds of tendencies, until this moment, if you respond fully consciously today, there will be a distance between you and the accumulated tendencies. Begin to act consciously. As I said, it happened. I went to a baby shower ceremony for my niece. First, the male were not allowed. Then what do the males do and where they will eat? So they were allowed. So I, my brother-in-law, his in-laws, they were basically the three males of the same age group. So we sat together. So the other two fill up their plates, and I took the big dinner plate and I walked around the buffet table to see the items on the menu. I saw many things that I could eat because each had a name on it, what the dish was. I analyzed. There were certain dishes that was fried. So they are normally fried with not medium chain glyceride oils, instead with ordinary oils. Now, consciousness is at play. I will not choose those items. I'll choose the items which are suitable. It is said, the psychologists working on the children say, if you put a large variety of food in front of an infant, he will choose only that which is beneficial for him. He will not eat each and everything because he is operating through consciousness, but he is not aware of it. Consciousness gives you the possibility to become free from your tendencies, even if you have lived your entire life with all kinds of tendencies. Until this moment, if you respond fully consciously in a particular moment, there will be a distance between you and the accumulated tendencies that you have. If you make every aspect of your life conscious, not only actions, but in thoughts, emotions, energy, you will be at the top of the world. I have heard Bhaiji Bistami was to go on a pilgrimage. Crowd gathered around him, and in the crowd there was an awakened one. Maybe Bhaiji was on the verge of awakening. That is why he was going to the pilgrimage. No awakened one goes to pilgrimage. And even the rich man asked Bhaiji to keep the money for emergency. Awakened one who was in the crowd began to laugh. He got up from amidst the crowd and moved on his way. Bhaiji was on the verge of awakening. He followed the man and inquired the cause of his laughter. The master said, "When you can trust today." He said, "I am only concerned with today, and this one coin is enough for me to live for today." He said, when you can trust today, then why not trust tomorrow? When you find one coin is enough for today, then why not the next coin for the next day? When you can keep a penny to take care of today, why not a million? Your trust for today shows how much you trust on God. You're keeping it for today and considering yourself to be wise. It is said, Bhaiji dropped the coin there, and that very moment he became enlightened. Now, I'll take something about the solar plexus or the Manipur center. It is also known as emotional center. Whenever there is problems, it is a phrase used, I cannot stomach anymore. This is also known as solar plexus or emotional center. It is unique. It does not get energy from outside source. It is not nourished, unlike other centers, by the food that you eat. That is why it is significant, and Shiva calls this center as energyless center. In mother's womb, you were connected to the mothers through the umbilical cord for nourishment. Now, as a human being, you have to connect it to the cosmic womb. The center does not depend on your eating. It is connected to the cosmic source where energy flows constantly. Shiva calls this center energy free or energy filling center. So this center is most important. And his focus is through the 112 techniques of meditation is the breathing to reach this center. The breathing starts from outside. It touches the nostrils, begins its descent, reaches the solar plexus, and then moves upward. This is the passage of the breathing from nostril, because the outside source, the cosmos, connects you through the nostrils, not through the eyes, not through the mind. And between the nostril to the solar plexus is the passage of the breath movement. Shiva calls this energy free or energy filling center. It is energy free because it does not receive energy from the food that you eat. It is energy filling because it is connected to the cosmic source, and if you are connected to that source, you are never deprived of energy level. Biologically speaking, this is also known as emotional center or solar plexus center. During emotional disturbances, this center gets most disturbed. It remains tense because there are so many suppressed emotions. Biologically, it is connected to solar plexus, kidneys, the pancreas, the lungs, the stomach, the nervous system, and the prostate gland. Biologically, solar plexus are emotional center, is connected with kidneys, the pancreas, the lungs, the stomach, the nervous system, and the prostate gland. Energetically representing or speaking, this center governs our feelings, sensitivities, and emotions. And of course, the stomach and the nervous system and kidneys, which produce adrenal, will be connected to the center that governs our feelings. Have you ever thrown up or started hyperventilating before a big presentation? You have to give a big presentation and you throw up, vomit, or start hyperventilating, being so upset that you could not eat, being so depressed that you ate the entire pizza. I feel like we all have been at one time or the other. In fact, there have been studies that show that certain areas of your brain that are stimulated when we feel physical pain are activated when we feel emotional pain. The ways emotional and physical trauma are processed by the body, the emotional and physical pain is processed by the body, is interconnected. Consequently, the emotional or solar plexus is also the center of addiction, whether it be to eat food, sex, drugs, or alcohol. If it is disturbed, addiction also becomes necessary. It performs dual duty as one of the three awareness centers along with mind, the third eye center, and the spleen center, and one of our four motor centers along the root center, the sacral center, and the heart center, and it remains most tense center of our entire chakras system. There is constant tug of war happening here between awareness and actions as we ride the waves of emotions. And our emotional energy fluctuates and ebbs and flows like waves in the ocean through this center. It is where we experience emotional polarities, euphoria, depression, passion, pain, guilt, and forgiveness. Through this center, we learn how to process our feelings and experience, with goal being clarity. And because of this center is also a motor, it is the center of desire where we are pushed towards experiences that keep us in the highest of high, while simultaneously trying to avoid the low. The center is also where we work on forgiveness and releasing painful, destructive emotional patterns when we are really, truly living in alignment with the energy of the center. We feel interconnected with the entire humanity. The moment you feel the center through breath movement, the process of transformation will begin. The moment your breath arises from the center and dissolves there, like a wave rising and falling at the same spot, there is a wave like rising and falling. The center will be tremendously relaxed. It is said, Lao Tse used to do an experiment with his disciples. He will give them a question and wants to solve it and come with a paper. Whenever the disciples will come, he will ask them to lie down and he will place his hand on their solar plexus. If the breathing is reaching there, there is a wave-like motion up and down. This is how solar plexus moves, a bellow action. You would have seen some bellow instrument moving like this. When you stand up, your movement is like that, and you will reach it. Then came Chongsu. He was given the question. When he came without an answer. Lao Tse said, "Where is the answer?" He said, "If I cannot become the answer, there is no use." He took off the clothes and lie down. He said, "You check it." When Lao Tse checked his breathing, he was breathing through the navel center. It was balanced. He has become the answer. This center works like a bellow movement, in and out. The movement is like the contraction and expansion of the stomach. You can use the sound of Hu to activate it, just as we say Allah, Hu, 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 Hu. Activate the breathing naturally begins to happen through the center. You can lie down on your stomach. The second technique, place your both palms on the navel center. Keep your mouth slightly open. Breathing will happen naturally and go to the solar plexus. There are other techniques as well. And when combined with other techniques, one gets the result faster. To begin only this much for now, until we continue, until we meet again. But there are other techniques which are designed individually according to the needs of the person. Not that we can give one response, one answer. Only this much for this morning, until we meet again for the continuation. Take care and do have a pleasant day. Every morning, every Saturday and Sunday, between the hours of 6 to 7 Eastern Time, which is equivalent to midday in Europe and afternoon between 3:30 to 4:30 according to Indian Standard Time. This live streaming takes place. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.